Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 83 of The Captain's Heart. The Saladin provided a narration as they guided him and Jeremy through the general area of the station and toward the temporary housing section. Gralgiran expected it would all make everything impressive to those who cared for how much material had to be excavated to produce the metals, plural, metals, needed for its construction, or the amount of work put in by the Riosef architect to make it look just right. He knew the narration had been crafted for Kelsirians, again, plural, by how they use the Kelsirian word for architect, even if there was one in Federalize. While he didn't care for such thing, Jeremy's questions about structural stability, density rating of material, and other things he hadn't known his heart had knowledge or an interest about seemed to indicate he at least was impressed. The narration switched to which important people had visited the station when they entered the housing section. Many of the names were Kelsirians, a handful had the feel of familiarity to his ears, but none he recognized. This is the housing assigned to you. The Saladin tapped the panel by the door, and it opened. Gralgiran looked in, reflexively reflectively looking for threats among the large bold bed, the Kelsirian-designed seating in the common area with a screen, and the seating around the table. He found none. The reflex was ingrained, but not often needed. Yeah. The one door at the back did indicate a problem with it. He stopped Jeremy from stepping in, letting out an impressed whistle. Where will Jeremy stay? He asked the Saladin. His heart gave him a confused look. The instructions are that all Earthers are to be housed at the edge of the Tauronian lodging, since their needs and habitations are closest. I'm not going with them, Jeremy protested. Jeremy is Kelsirian. The Saladin looked at his heart, and their skin shifted in color. The speed at which the splotches changed indicated they were flustered by the situation, an easy state for them to achieve, but it slowed by the time they spoke. The person you identify as Jeremy meets all the criteria provided for Earthers, not Kelsirian. The instructions are that Earthers are to, he is my heart. He did his best not to voice his anger. His Saladin was only doing the work as best as they knew it. But it was one of the reasons he didn't like dealing with them, or bureaucracies in general. The shift in color was slower and might mean something to those who studied the species. I don't understand how that can be. His heart is my heart. He snapped, not heart. Did they even understand the difference? Was there any way he could explain it so? Is there a problem? The female Kelsirian who stopped a few paces from them wore a vest with an official cut to it, rather than the leisurely one it had, and had a banner with a claw on it over the right breast, indicating she dealt with the law, his namesake's domain. The respected captain is demanding I break the rules for his Earther. What Earther? She asked before Gralgiran snapped again. The Saladin's skin rapidly shifted in color. That one? They pointed to his heart. That one he identifies as Jeremy. That person is Kelsirian, she said. Her ears tilted in amusement as the Saladins became outright multicolored. Tell me. The clicks and whistles she made were incomprehensible to Gralgiran, but sounded like how Saladins spoke. Okay, Saladin's native language. Are you familiar with the law of hearts? Welcome, respected guests. Their colors were settling back into mostly grays. The knowledge of a Kelsirian law is not required. The law of heart is recognized by the Federation, therefore has to be respected by those working for it. Technician Jeremy Bradshaw is Hunter Captain Gralgiran Sel Helhavnir as a heart. By the law of heart, that makes him Kelsirian. Therefore, they need lodging that will accommodate 2 Kelsirians, not 1. That was not accounted for. Earthers are 2. There are no Earthers here. If there was a mistake in your instruction, you need to have that resolved and see to it the respected guests have proper lodging if they are to be present for adjudication. Need to contact my supervisor. The Saladin took out their tablet and stepped away. I apologize for how you've been treated, Captain. Technician. I am in the welcomer's defense. You represent a unique situation and was never covered among the possibilities they are trained to handle. And how should we address you? He asked, working at keeping his irritation out of his tone. She had helped, but the timing smelled of meddling, and he didn't like it. I am adjudicator Frilteramik Vixim Sal Lagiran. I have been assigned to your heart to prepare him for his turn in the adjudicating chamber. I was coming to introduce myself before you were requested there, so he wouldn't be alone with a stranger when I presented myself. Not meddling then, just timing. I was going to take him with me. There's no point in leaving him alone, since he will have to testify. Her ears canted in worry, and she consulted her tablet. He thought she was letting him see how she felt, since any adjudicator he'd had to deal with before mastered their bodies as part of learning their craft. She looked up. You are to be questioned separately. There is a concern that he will be forced to agree to anything you say. Wouldn't he already have coached me? Jimmy asked. Sorry for speaking further lies. I can't vocalize Kelsirian. I understand. And no matter how skilled your heart is as a hunter captain, you can't have foreseen all the possible directions the questioning might take, and a lie can be found that way. I didn't instruct him on any of this, Gralgiran said, annoyed. I know, but that is how the adjudicators who sit in judgment look at any situation where more than one person is involved. Surely you do the same when interrogating suspect as part of your hunts. I have a better with that training, he replied, annoyed. He didn't like the idea of Jeremy being alone with someone he didn't know. He took out his tablet, putting the earpiece in. You don't mind? He tapped the name and spoke before the adjudicator could reply. Beta, I need a basic rundown on one adjudicator, Friltoramik Vixim Sal Lagiran. Just what can be seen on the surface for now. She nodded her approval. One adjudicator, Friltoramik Vixim Sal Lagiran. How the hell did I end up? Lagiran. Beatrix. That's how it happened. Beatrix Jezbil responded. Female, Brendan fur tinted toward copper, with more black around the eyes and lower back. Her chest has a trail of paler fur going down to her stomach. She's with the on-site Kelsirian Legal Protection Group. They are tapped when someone falls under our laws who might not have known they needed representation. If you need more, I'll have to get the pack clawing. That is enough. Thank you, Beta. Glad I'm acceptable. Mentalist? He asked. No, but my work requires to be able to read others' body language, even when they are trained not to show it. He nodded. So, Jeremy said, what exactly are you going to need me to learn? Less learn and more prepare for eventualities. The Earthers who are representing their government will... Oh, wait a minute. Earth government? I thought this was the Einstein's commander carrying through with his threat of making me pay for not going along with what he wanted. She consulted their tablet. There is no mention of a commander of Einstein's station. This is all from the Earther government. They are the ones accusing your heart of kidnapping you, and they will try to... It has been resolved, the Saladin said, without care. They were interrupting. I can explain once We are in the apartment, she said, and accompanied them. Gralgiran checked the time and barely kept from growling. He'd expected to be called an hour ago, but just as the case before his was ending, a group of Tahornian had burst in and made enough of a nuisance of themselves. The adjudicator had agreed to see them. He'd been tempted to leave with the others, whose case would be delayed, but if he wasn't there when called, the admiral would use that against him. If he'd realized they would bicker for this long, he'd have gone to get something to eat. Couldn't read enough of the Earther's body language, with them seated on the opposite side of the chamber's viewing area, but they seemed to be taking the delay better than he was. Was there restrictions against hunt lenses in this chamber? If he was called again, he needed to wear them so he could get a better look at his enemies and get an advantage. Finally, the Turanian laughed. He had no idea if the resolution had satisfied either parties. Were Turanians ever satisfied when they didn't get everything? He was called, along with the Earthers, and he walked to the table. It was divided into three, with 5 adjudicators in the center, third, and either party on each side. The table was large enough to sit 6 on each side. Okay, the center third with either party on each side, and enough space to sit 6. Normally, there would be 2 adjudicators from each of the party's species, and a 5th from another species to break any impasses. This time it was 2 Kelsirian, and 1 Ryosef, 1 Ridoshi, and 1 Shimbarian. He didn't know enough to work out if it was in response to there being no Earther adjudicator within the Federation, or some other clause that affected cases like this. The Earthers are claiming theft of personnel by 1 Kelsirian Captain Gralgiran El Ravnir. The Shimbarian announced, kidnapped. The Earther seated at the center of the 5 said in Earther. There was a hurried discussion between the adjudicator. Theft of personnel is enough of an equivalent. The Shimbarian said, does the captain have an opening comment? I claim the law of hearts. That should deal with the situation. The law of heart has been claimed as per Federation. Where's the proof? The Earther asked, this time in Federalize. No question there. The law of hearts, the Ridoshi said from the speak box around their upper torso, the voice not approaching something. The voice not approaching something that sounded organic is a matter for the gods, and is accepted that they will. We don't accept that. The Earther declared, he pointed, that man that calls himself a hunter entered our territory under false pretense, then assaulted one of our research stations and kidnapped one of our best antimatter researcher. That isn't a crime we are ready to just wave away because, not before, you claim some mythical power made it happen. Gralgiran kept his muzzle shut by force of will. Like the Earther, he knew the protocol for these. He waited for the Shimbarian adjudicator to indicate he could speak. Jeremy is my heart, my love. You're a man. The gender of the accused party is not in question. The Kelsirian female said, he's not even human. The Earther declared before being given permission to speak. We don't care what species each other is, Gralgiran said, breaking protocol too. And Ravnir declared we would find our heart wherever just Biliam sent them. I found mine, and you imprisoned him for that. I rescued him. You boarded a Terran station without permission and armed. That's an act of war. Holding a Kelsirian citizen against his will is an act of aggression that my people will not leave unresponded. You took him against his will. Gralgiran forced his breathing to slow. His anger would not help him. Their accusations were baseless, and as soon as their witnesses were questioned, it would be He looked around the chamber. The fact there were no other Earthers didn't mean they weren't there to be called on, but Jeremy was the one that had to be protected from manipulation, not the Earthers. He looked at the adjudicator and waited to be acknowledged. The male Kelsirian did so. Where are the Earthers' witnesses? That Earthers needed to be prodded told him something. They are safe from your threat. So they're on the station. Of course. Then I called on the adjudicator to submit all parties involved to be scanned by mentalists. What? The Earther spoke with those with him, and they looked confused. The motion is approved, the Ryosef said. Mentalists will be assembled, and you can't do that. The Earther was on his feet. We came here to get justice, not get some sideshow about mind reading. I thought you people were evolved. Mentalists are a recognized category of people among all species that have ongoing interaction within the Federation, the Kelsirian female said, and an accepted method of resolving conflict where both sides have witnesses to the event being questioned. What witnesses? The Earther demanded. Myself, Gralgiran answered, my heart, as well as the pack involved in rescuing him from the Earthers holding him captive. Of course they're going to say what you tell them to. That is enough, the Sembarian educator said. We represent the authority of the Federation. We decide how this conflict will be resolved. We accept that mentalists will provide the answer sought. Both parties are dismissed to return to their lodging. Yeah, that's what I thought. Parties, plural. Return to lodging. Contact those needed to now. I demand this be resolved now and here. He's not going anywhere until we're satisfied he will return our researcher to us. Representative Johansson, the Sembarian said, the voice still the same even tone, although they had to be tired of this behavior. You are not in a position to demand anything from this body of judgment. You will return to the assigned lodging, and you will wait there to return with the witnesses when called. Captain Gralgiran El Havnir, you will do the same. Ensure that any to be before the mentalists are ready for it. Your one. Ensure that any to be before the mentalists are ready. For it will be your one chance to support your claim. You may go. You're not going anywhere. You will go. This time the impatience came through clearly in the growl that accompanied the Sembarian word. Gralgiran laughed, ignoring the Earther's protest. As the educator had expressed, they didn't have authority here. He put the earpiece in as soon as he was outside the chamber. Beta, put on alert the hunters who were involved in Jeremy's rescue. They are going off shift until further notice. They are to rest and make themselves ready to be called. Any special instructions? No. They will be providing their testimonies to what took place to counter that of the Earthers. He didn't mention the mentalists. There were ways to make mentalists work harder, to block the weaker ones completely, and he expected many of the hunters under his command had that training. It was something common among those who risked capture by the enemy. He couldn't control what they do once they realized mentalists were involved, but he didn't want any to read that he had instructed them to hide their thoughts. The unplanned advantage of this was that Jeremy wouldn't have to confront the Earthers alone. He'd have full packs at his back to protect him on top of his heart. Spent the walk to the lodging going over what he'd tell Jeremy. As with the hunters, he didn't want him to go in knowing about the mentalist, but he wanted him ready for the unexpected, aware that Gralgiran wasn't telling him everything. He'd explain the reasons afterwards, but that should keep his heart from being overly angry at the subterfuge. His claws were out as he opened the door, and before the smell of blood fully registered, his teeth bared. He looked over the room and found the educator's body against the wall, cut, broken, shut, and dead. He was next to her, scanning the room. Not finding Jeremy, he put the earpiece in. Beta Zarfiel, I don't fucking care if the gods block you away. Get someone on scan and tell me where the fucking Earthers have taken my heart. How many packs? She asked, and he smiled at the Beta's efficiency. He was tempted to order all of them to go active, but this was a Federation station, not enemy territory. Contact the on-duty beta. She will have the list of hunters already preparing to be called to the station. They will do. Have them go battle ready, no weapons. Hunters would be enough, and his hunters would be enough, no matter how many guards the Earthers put between him and his heart. And that concludes chapter 83 of The Captain's Heart. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is available on Ream Story. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.